Welcome to Club UX, your one stop for everything related to UX. In the last video, I shared with you the entire UX research interview process. I'm making an entire series to help you out with your interview preparation. In this video, I am going to share with you a very important round in the UX research interview process, which is the behavioral round that assesses your behavioral skills. This is going to be that one video which is going to be filled up with a lot of valuable information. But before I begin, please make sure that you subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up so that it reaches more people and more people can get benefit out of it. If you have not watched the last video, make sure that you go and watch that video first because it's going to help you out a lot, and then you can jump back and watch this video. I have added the link of that video in the description box. So first, let me quickly brush up on what the UX research interview process looks like. So a UX research interview assesses four things: your collaboration skills, your behavioral skills, your technical skills, and number four, your presentation and communication skills. If you're applying for a full-time role, the number of interview rounds would be between 2 to 6. However, if it's a contract role, then it won't be more than 2 to 3. Sometimes the interviewers make the decision even in one round. With this, now let's start the video and let's see what is a behavioral round. So a behavioral round is aimed to understand your past experiences, problem-solving abilities, how you handle different situations in the field of research. And it is typically a 30 to 45 minutes round. It's usually taken up by a UX researcher who may be way senior than you, or maybe your colleague, or maybe the hiring manager. And these type of questions typically starts with, tell me about a time, or describe, and then they talk about the situation. For example, tell me about a time when you worked with a difficult stakeholder, or tell me about a time when you worked on really tight deadlines. We will discuss more about what these questions are and how do you prepare for these questions. But first, let's understand how do you answer these questions. So you answer these questions following a STAR methodology. Okay, but before I explain to you what STAR methodology is, let's do this. Let's suppose that I went to Bora Bora. I took a solo trip to Bora Bora during my birthday. I mean, I really wish to go to Bora Bora someday. So you're my friend and we met after a long time and you asked me, yeah, amazing Reetika, tell me about this trip to Bora Bora. What did you do? And how did it happen? So see how I talk about this following a STAR methodology. So I first start by talking about the situation. Okay, so it was my birthday and I really wanted to do something that I had never done before. So I thought about making a very memorable experience on my birthday and I decided to take a trip to Bora Bora. Now I will share different tasks in order to make sure that I have this relaxing and memorable experience by visiting this place, Bora Bora. For example, accommodation, booking the flights, checking the climate in order to see what sort of different clothes that I need to bring on. And now I will share different actions that I took in order to complete these tasks. For example, in order to check what are different accommodations that are available, I checked online, I compared different prices, hotels or resorts that fall under my budget. Then I also checked the weather and the climate to see what are the clothes, what type of clothes that I should bring along with me on this vacation, and blah 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 blah. And in the end, I'll share the result, which is that finally I went to Bora Bora and I had the memorable experience of my lifetime. So you see what I did? Yes, the first thing that I did is talking a lot about Bora Bora, but I started with setting up the situation, which was my birthday. Then I talked about different tasks in order to make this thing happen, different actions that I had to take in order to complete these tasks, and in the end I shared the result. So I have answered this question following a STAR methodology. So STAR methodology is situation, task, action and result. This is the methodology that is most commonly used to answer the behavioral questions. With this, now let's see what are the top 5 behavioral questions that are most commonly asked in a UX research interview behavioral round. I would also like to mention here is that when you're answering these questions, don't take more than 3 minutes. Ideally, you should be able to answer between 2 to 3 minutes following a STAR methodology. I know you can struggle a lot. I mean, I have also struggled a lot in the past, and I still struggle to, load all this information in 2 to 3 minutes. But you have to make sure that you answer in this time frame, because otherwise the interviewer might lose the interest. So because of this reason, you have to practice a lot. Maybe you can jot down the answers, and then you have to practice again and again, set the timer and see whether or not you are able to finish it off under 3 minutes. Number one question that is more commonly asked is, tell me about a time when you worked on a challenging project. Why this question is asked? Because obviously the interviewer wants to know what is the project that you worked on and what are the different challenges that you encountered. The interviewer also wants to see how did you overcome these challenges. Now let's discuss how can you answer this. Maybe the challenge is about different technical aspects about understanding the project or problem space. Maybe it is about the challenge because of the stakeholders that you worked on. Maybe working along with them was challenging. Maybe recruiting the participants was challenging. Maybe working on tight deadlines was really challenging for you. So let's see how I have answered these questions. For example, one of the projects that I mentioned is during my time at Meta, when I had worked on ads and sites platform. So there were 3 major challenges that I had faced. Number one, steep learning curve, because I was dealing with this huge and vast advertisement space. Number 2, working on tight deadlines. For example, in just 4 to 5 months, I had worked on 6 to 7 research projects. And number 3, difficulties with working with some really difficult stakeholders. And then I talk about each challenge a little bit more detail, and then I mention what are different steps that I took in order to overcome this challenge. Question number 2. Tell me about a time when you convinced these stakeholders to do research. This question is asked because the interviewer wants to see how well you are able to influence others and influence the stakeholders and persuade them to commit and invest in research, which is obviously one of the difficult tasks a UX researcher has to endure. How do you answer it? Think about a time when you did face some resistance from the stakeholders in conducting the research, and think about what are the different and small steps that you undertook that perhaps snowballed into something more meaningful and eventually led the stakeholders to commit and invest in research. Maybe by building relationships along with them, maybe by understanding their concerns, why they don't want to invest in research. Maybe it is about timing, maybe it is about budget constraints, and what are the different steps that you took in order to resolve these concerns. For example, one of the projects that I recently worked on, I was working with this seasoned professionals who had been in the business from last many years, and they were moving ahead with implementing a product feature without understanding the real needs and requirements, and they were moving ahead with their own beliefs of what the needs and requirements of the user is. So in order to make sure that we are designing with user needs in mind, these are XYZ steps that I undertook. Mention those steps, and with these steps, this increased the interest of stakeholders, and ultimately this is how I was able to bag my first project. And I carried out my first project, and this built a good relationship between the team and me. And then we created a roadmap and identified different research activities, and this is how research became an integral part of the entire process. Question number 3. Tell me about a time when you worked on a project at tight deadlines. Now we have to agree that as a researcher, you are often faced in situations where you have to indeed work on tight deadlines, because UX research is indeed an understaffed field. And the interviewer wants to see if you have faced similar situations in the past, and what are the different strategies that you took in order to manage the situation efficiently. While answering this question, you have to demonstrate 3 things: your time management skills, your collaboration skills, and your flexibility to adapt to any situation. For example, once I was working on a project, and along with my stakeholders, we defined the timelines as 4 weeks. 1 week for recruitment and scheduling of the interviews, 2 weeks for conducting the research, and 1 week to prepare the analysis and then present it. However, the timeline changed unexpectedly when the team wanted me to present the research to the Paris team, and this means that I had to conduct the research, present it in 3 weeks instead of 4 weeks. So what I did, I took a couple of steps. Number 1, I collaborated with the research ops team to help me out with rescheduling the interviews. Then I also took help of the designer to help me out with taking the notes. I also took help from a junior UX researcher who helped me out with doing the analysis. In this way, I was able to do the entire research in 3 weeks, and I presented it to the Paris team within the time frame, and the team also recognized my efforts and they applauded it. Let's come to question number 4, which is about tell me about a time when you had any disagreement with a team member. Here the interviewer wants to see how do you collaborate or how do you handle the conflicts when it arises. What are your interpersonal dynamics and how do you work in order to make sure that any disagreements are resolved? Let's answer this question with a very simple answer. For example, once I was working on a project where I had a disagreement with the product manager on what research methodology I should use. Product manager wanted me to carry out a survey. However, I felt that considering the research questions, a one-on-one user interview would be much more beneficial. But we were not able to arrive on an agreement. In order to address this, I called the key stakeholders during the meeting, where we openly discussed different viewpoints. I brought everyone's attention towards the research objective and the questions that we wanted to address. And by having multiple discussions and by listening to various viewpoints, I suggested that let's move ahead by doing a qualitative research, by doing a one-on-one user interview, and then we can supplement the insights by conducting a quick survey. In this manner, I was able to balance multiple perspectives, brought everyone together, and this is how I was able to align everyone on the research methodology, and then we conducted the research. This experience reinforced the importance of managing multiple and diverse perspectives and using different methodologies that can be used and can be combined together to arrive at meaningful results. And number 5, most important question that would be asked is, tell me about a time or tell me how do you manage or prioritize multiple projects. Let's be honest. And I'm again venting out my frustration that UX research is indeed a very understaffed field. There is a lot of research that you can do, you should do, you would be doing, but you can do only a limited number of things at a given point of time. Prioritization is a crucial aspect in UX research. And the interviewer wants to see when you arrive and when you face such situation, what is your decision-making process? What are your thought process? Maybe you can start by mentioning that you do a research prioritization or research road mapping exercises along with the stakeholders, where you identify what are the different business priorities or business projects that would be undertaken in this fiscal year or in this year. And then you identify what are the different milestones that the team wishes to achieve. And in order to achieve those milestones, what are the different challenges that the team anticipate? And then you work along with team in identifying what sort of different research projects that you can undertake in order to resolve those challenges. This is how you help the team to achieve those milestones, and this is how you prioritize these research activities by understanding what are the organizational needs and what are the different business priorities. And you can elaborate with a simple example. Yes, these are the top 5 questions that you must prepare whenever you are invited for a behavioral round. Also, I want to mention here that the same question can be asked in a different way, something like I have mentioned on the screen. So use the examples I have shared and add your own personal flavor and personal touch. Infuse it with what are the situations that you have encountered and prepare these questions and answers following a STAR methodology. Again, I want to stress that you should be able to answer these questions within 2 to 3 minutes of time frame. These are the top 5 questions. However, do Google and find out what are the other behavioral questions that can be asked during an interview round and then prepare accordingly. We have come to the end of this video. I hope that you found it helpful. Please prepare on this, and again, like I had mentioned in the last video, wherever or whatever stage you are at the interview process, maybe you're just thinking about a job change or thinking about applying for a job. Maybe you have not even started with your interview process or with your job search process. It is important that you start practicing. And like I have said, always practice as if your life depends on it. Also, let me know in the comment section if you have encountered any different question or any unexpected question that you had never heard of. Tell me about it in the comment section below, and I would be interested to know about it. Maybe it can help me to prepare for my interviews as well. With this, I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.